In medical research, the promise of AI-driven insights is held back by a critical bottleneck: patient privacy. Hospitals generate vast amounts of clinical data, diagnoses, treatment histories, imaging reports, but sharing this data legally and ethically is extremely difficult. Why? Because even when names, dates, and addresses are removed, subtle clues like zip codes, birth years, or lifestyle details can still be used to re-identify individuals. This is known as re-identification risk, and it's why standard de-identification methods often fall short. Enter MultiGraSCCo, a groundbreaking multilingual anonymization benchmark built to push the boundaries of privacy-preserving AI in healthcare. Developed by researchers from DFKI, TU Berlin, Charité, Humboldt University, and Bifold, MultiGraSCCo isn't just another dataset. It's a comprehensive, high-quality resource designed to help researchers build and test anonymization systems that go far beyond the basic rules of HIPAA or GDPR. Let's unpack what makes this work so significant. The problem: anonymization is not one-size-fits-all. Current de-identification standards vary widely by region. In the US, HIPAA mandates the removal of 18 specific categories of protected health information, like names, social security numbers, and dates. But in Europe, GDPR doesn't list exact categories. Instead, it demands proof that re-identification is not reasonably possible, given available tools and resources. That means a system compliant with HIPAA might still fail under GDPR. And the challenge grows when you consider language. Most existing datasets for medical NLP are in English. But real-world clinical data exists in dozens of languages: German, Arabic, Russian, Polish, Turkish, Persian, each with unique grammar, cultural norms, and privacy expectations. So how do we train AI models to detect personal information across languages when labeled data is scarce? The answer lies in synthetic data, realistic but fictional clinical texts, and machine translation, used not just to translate language, but to preserve and adapt annotations in culturally appropriate ways. Building MultiGraSCCo, from German to 10 languages. Our foundation is GraSCCo, a publicly available German-language synthetic clinical corpus. Unlike real patient data, GraSCCo was designed to be shareable. It contains 63 clinical documents, over 43,000 tokens, covering neurology, oncology, intensive care, and more. Crucially, every document was manually anonymized by medical professionals. Real names were replaced with fictional ones, dates were shifted forward, and even some medical facts were altered to avoid re-identification. But we didn't stop there. We expanded the original FI, protected health information, annotations with Indirect Personal Identifiers, IPI, a category often overlooked in privacy research. Why? Because information like a patient's occupation, marital status, hobbies, or even the hospital they attended can, when combined, reveal identities. Sweeney's 2002 study famously re-identified Massachusetts Governor William Weld using just 3 pieces of data: zip code, birth date, and gender. To address this, we developed a detailed IPI schema with 13 categories, including time, e.g. last week, healthcare personnel, socioeconomic and criminal history, family information, hobbies and lifestyle, sexual orientation, language and speech patterns, and more. We then trained 2 native German-speaking annotators, both with academic backgrounds in medicine and psychology, to label these IPIs using InkEption, a collaborative annotation platform. The result? Over 1,140 IPI annotations across the corpus, with an impressive micro F1 score of 83%, indicating strong agreement despite the complexity of identifying subtle, context-dependent cues. And here's the key: this wasn't just labeling. It was designing a privacy-aware framework. Translating with purpose, not just words but cultural context. Now comes the next challenge: making this data usable across languages. We translated GraSCCo into 9 languages: English, French, Italian, Arabic, Persian, Polish, Russian, Ukrainian, and Turkish, spanning 6 language families and 3 writing systems: Latin, Cyrillic, and Arabic. But we didn't use a simple word-for-word translator. Instead, we used GPT-4.1 with a carefully crafted prompt that instructed the model to translate the full text while preserving all XML tags, like name, patient, or date. Adapt names, cities, hospitals, and titles to natural-sounding equivalents in the target language. Ensure cultural consistency, e.g., a 13th grade in Poland doesn't exist, so we avoided that. Use accurate medical terminology in each language, not Latinized terms. Avoid placeholders like John Doe or Anytown. For example, original German, Die Patientin, Frau Name Patient Research / Name Patient, Word für einen Routine-Stentwechsel aufgenommen. Translated into Turkish. Sayin Name Patient Güneş / Name Patient, Balinen Pancreas Bashi Canceri Nednel Rudin, Stent Dagishimi Amasila Terafimiza Bashvermuster. Notice how Reser becomes Güneş, a real Turkish surname, not a literal translation. The city, hospital, and even the medical terminology are all adapted. But how do we know the translations are good? Human evaluation: experts rate the quality. We conducted a rigorous evaluation with 10 native-speaking physicians or medical students per language, all fluent in German. They rated the translations on 4 dimensions. 1. General quality: does the meaning hold? 2. Grammar is the sentence natural and correct. 3. Tag structure are the XML tags preserved. 4. Entity translation quality are names, locations, and titles adapted appropriately. The results were outstanding. Average score, 6.34 out of 7. 93% of ratings differed by only 1 point. 47% showed perfect agreement. Inter-rater agreement MAD was just 0.61, very low, meaning high consistency. And crucially, the model preserved 99.76% of all annotations across languages. That's nearly perfect. We also found some interesting quirks. In Arabic, the model sometimes used Latin medical terms instead of Arabic equivalents, e.g., mitral valve, as al-Sharayanal mitrali instead of the more common al-Sharayanat taji. In Turkish and Polish, certain school systems or social services weren't accurately reflected due to cultural differences. In English, GPT-4.1 occasionally picked names that created unrealistic distances between cities. These insights helped us refine the prompt and retranslate the English data. The bottom line: state-of-the-art language models can generate high-quality, culturally adapted translations that preserve privacy annotations. Testing the benchmark: monolingual, cross-lingual, and multilingual experiments. Now the real test: can this data help train better anonymization models? We ran 3 types of experiments using named entity recognition, NER, to detect personal information. 1. Monolingual setup. We trained separate models on each language's data using RoBERTA or BERT. Performance was strong, especially for PHI detection, with micro F1 scores between 0.9 and 0.95. But IPI detection lagged, with macro F1 scores dropping as low as 0.42 for Arabic. Why? Because IPIs are subtle. They're not just names or dates, they're contextual clues. A model trained only on one language struggles to generalize. 2. Cross-lingual setup. We trained a model only on German data and tested it on all other languages. Performance dropped sharply, especially for IPIs. This shows that zero-shot transfer fails when labels are rare or context-sensitive. 3. Multilingual setup. Here S where the magic happens. We combined German data with limited in-language annotations, as little as 25% of the target language's data. And the results? A dramatic improvement. Even at just 25% training data, models outperformed cross-lingual baselines. With 100% in-language data, they achieved micro F1 above 0.86 and macro F1 above 0.79 across all languages. This proves that multilingual training with even small amounts of labeled data is a powerful strategy, especially for low-resource languages. Why MultiGraSCCo matters. This isn't just a dataset. It's a new paradigm for privacy research. It enables training and validating annotators across institutions, without legal risk, because there's no real personal data. It supports benchmarking anonymization systems in 10 languages, helping developers test compliance with global privacy laws. It provides a realistic testbed for models to detect indirect identifiers, those invisible clues that can compromise anonymity. It demonstrates that GPT-4.1 can be a trustworthy tool for creating high-quality, culturally adapted synthetic data, when guided by precise prompts. And best of all, it's open. You can access the full dataset, annotation guidelines, and even the best-performing models on Zenodo and Hugging Face. Limitations and future work. We're honest about the limits. GraSCCo was designed with deliberate distortions, like giving patients names like Alzheimer or disease, to challenge de-identification models. While GPT-4.1 reduced some of these artifacts, they may still persist. We also corrected all typos and expanded abbreviations during preprocessing. So the final dataset is cleaner than real clinical text. And while translations are culturally adapted, they may not fully reflect the stylistic or syntactic norms of real-world clinical writing in each language. So the next step: realistic clinical corpora in low-resource languages. But for now, MultiGraSCCo is the most comprehensive multilingual anonymization benchmark available, built on sound science, rigorous annotation, and cutting-edge AI. Final thoughts: privacy in AI isn't just about removing names. It's about understanding the full spectrum of what can reveal identity, especially in diverse linguistic and cultural contexts. MultiGraSCCo gives researchers the tools to build systems that don't just comply with regulations, but truly protect patients. It's not just a dataset. It's a step toward ethical, responsible, and globally applicable AI in healthcare. So if you're working on privacy, NLP, or medical AI, this is your next resource. Download it. Test it. Build on it. Because the future of healthcare AI shouldn't be built on stolen data. It should be built on trust, transparency, and innovation.